Good evening, all. Sir, shall we start? Mukund, sir.
Just a couple of minutes. At five, exactly, we can start at 5 because we asked him.
Okay, sir. Good evening, Vijay, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Abhinav, please share the banner.
Sunil, shall we go ahead? It's 5 o'clock.
Okay, sir. We'll go ahead, sir. Yeah. Yeah, good evening to all the faculty members from the other colleges, industries, research scholars, and the students. I welcome you all to the online skill development program on managing the construction projects with Microsoft Project from 4th October to 14th October in Zoom platform. So today we have with us Professor C. Vijay Shekhar sir, the Dean of Engineering, Geetham Institute of Technology, and as well as Geetham deemed to be university. I like, sir, please address the gathering uh, about this event.
Sure. Thank you very much for your invitation. And I'm going to first express my ignorance in terms of what will be going on in this particular, skill development program, because I'm not a civil engineer to start with. Of course, I understand that there are many faculty and students in this particular program, and we try to create a syllabus that is obviously latest and things like that. But in spite of that, there is always some additional things that we cannot be covering in 4 years, and as part of the classroom curriculum, especially these days when we are actually reducing the credits to give a very broad spectrum of subjects beyond engineering and things like that, makes it even more difficult. So therefore, it's always important to go beyond the classroom and learn few things. And that's what I suppose I understand this skill development is all about. So unfortunately, I can't say much more intelligent than this. I'm pretty sure whatever is going to be done in this particular program, it will be very useful for you. Please take advantage of that. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice words. So, and I request D. Mukund, sir, HOD of Civil Engineering, Department of Civil Engineering, and Geetham Institute of Technology. Please express about our department, sir, about the event.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this inaugural session of Skill Development Program. Department of Civil Engineering at Geetham University had been in existence since 1980, so it's more than 40 years old. And here we offer BTech in Civil Engineering, MTech in Structural Engineering, as well as a PhD program in various faculties. The department is quite strong in terms of consultancy and research, where we work on with local entities, governmental bodies, private organizations, contractors, so on and so forth, on various research as well as contract related issues. Apart from that, we have students who are very actively involved in various uh, student organizations like AAC, and we have IT as well as IGPC, where they have won various accolades at state level as well as at national level. Apart from that, the department enjoys a quite good infrastructure in all our labs, which are mostly updated to the latest technologies. With this, as Dean Sir informed before, this program would be beneficial for all those students who are expecting some more additional knowledge to their existing theoretical as well as practical knowledge. And especially once you start your career as a civil engineer, I think this is something which would be very important for you on how to manage the construction projects. And as you're aware of, we have two faculty members who will be taking care of this program later. Dr. Karthik, thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation and being one of the resource persons. Dr. Karthik is from NIT Srinagar. And we have our own faculty, Sunil, as well as Chiti Babu. Both of them are construction management background. And I wish this program, it will be a huge success. And as informed before, try to attend each and every session so that you won't miss any part of it. And all the best for the session. Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you so much, sir. Today's chief guest, Dr. Dasari Karthik. So he's an assistant professor in civil. So today we have resource persons, myself as well as Chiti Babu, and I request Venkat, please introduce the chief guest.
Yes, sir. So, hi, good evening, everyone. Let me introduce to a person who is known to have good knowledge in the field of construction management and target-oriented with a strong fighting spirit. He has worked in different verticals as a steel retailer in BSD Structural Engineering Private Limited, Hyderabad. He also worked as a planning engineer for Metro Rail project at Afcons Infrastructure Private Limited, Kolkata. Also, he is known to have a very good experience as project manager at Samashaila Developers, Hyderabad. At present, he is working as an assistant professor in NIT Srinagar. He has published many journals in SCI, Scopus, and Web of Science. He also submitted a patent on novel means of arcanage for reinforcing bars in reinforced concrete. He holds a doctorate in construction management from NIT Warangal. Recently, he completed his postgraduate diploma in alternate dispute resolution from Nelsar University, Hyderabad. He is none other than Dr. Dasari Karthik. It's been a privilege to introduce him. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat. So, Karthik, thank you for accepting our invitation and giving a guest lecture today. It is over to you. So, you can share your screen and start your presentation. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. Thank you very much. And first thing, I would really appreciate Geetham deemed to be university to take up such good programs which help students for their career development and for their jobs. Because this is the area where a engineering graduate can easily grab a job. With this minimum knowledge, you can grab a job. And that is what the main advantage of this topic, like construction management or Microsoft project, whatever may be the tool. But with respect to construction management, if you have a minimum knowledge, you can surely grab a job in the industry, because there is a very much dire need in the industry towards this construction management area. And I would really appreciate entire team of Geetham University, Sunil Garu, Chiti Babu, and team to take up such a very good program. So today I'll be explaining you about the concepts behind the scheduling and how it has been evolved. So all those things will just go into the details. I'll just share my slides. I hope you can see the slides. Please confirm.
Yeah, we can see your slides. Continue, Karthik.
Yeah, thank you very much. So today, before starting this program, all of you students will be going to have some hands-on experience with the Microsoft project. See, Microsoft project is a software, it's a tool. It cannot give you any knowledge, but whatever the knowledge you have to put into that tool and make an output. Okay. Yeah. So we'll know about some basics, some basic fundamental things or basics regarding construction management, regarding projects and all those things. First, we will understand. Let us understand about these basics, and slowly I'll go into the topic and I'll explain you what are the methods and how it can relate to your Microsoft project program. Okay, because until unless you don't have this basic bent in your minds, you cannot understand the purpose of the tool what you are learning in your program. Okay, so construction management. So simply, see, I wanted to make it an interactive session. If some of you could answer in between, you can simply answer by unmuting your mic, or else I'll just continue my lecture. Okay. So basically, I'll come from the seed, from the roots. Okay. So slowly, I'll join into the main session. So what is construction? Basically, what is construction? How do you define it? See, everyone has their own definition about construction, but how do you define it? And how a layman, how a common man level people, individuals will understand about construction. Simply, see, an individual or a common man can understand it is an activity or series of activities, okay? Activity or series of activities that involves workers, materials, tools, and equipment. This is what a layman or a common man thinks about the construction. Now, if you also, as a graduate, if you also think that construction is all about your physical strength or physical capabilities to do work, and not much about the intelligence or creativity, then probably people have not been paying very close attention to what has been going in the construction industry since ages, since long back. So many of the construction projects today became very complex. Also, the construction process involved with it have become extremely challenging. They are very challenging. That means it requires some practical talent, some practical exposure along with the professional knowledge or academic knowledge you are gaining in your colleges in order to plan by all means and methods that are required to achieve the present day or modern day challenges of the construction industry. So therefore, the present area, that is construction management, involves an organization, that means a company, and its effective coordination and their strategic efforts which can be applied or which are applied to various construction activities that has to be executed on field, and also various resources or several resources that were needed to achieve those objectives of the proposed construction project, because every proposed construction project will have some objectives, right? So we can say that the construction management is a combination of both art and science of the technology that was involved in the construction process, also along with the essential principles of business management, computer technology, and also leadership. Okay, so probably till now you might not have heard about much about the construction management, but this construction management is a unique profession, especially if you look at India. If we look a decade back, that means 10 years or 15 years back, this profession is relatively a new concept. But now this has become a prime necessity for each and every project in the construction industry, and it became a dire need in the Indian construction industry also the all over the world. No need to worry about you are a girl or a boy. Usually what happens, construction or civil engineering means people used to think only boys can do because they have to go out and physically work and handle the tasks. No, be it a boy or a girl who loves the idea of transforming a lifeless set of plans and specifications of a construction proposal into something real-time facility, be it a small home, be it a high-rise building or multi-story building or a commercial building be it a hospital, be it a institutional building, it may be a road, bridge, dam, or any facility. Okay. So what is management in the construction? So what is management in the construction? How do we look at it, and how we understand it, and such that we should make it more effective. That means management, why we are bringing the management in construction, such that we make it more effective for the intended purpose of a construction project. So adding these management concepts into the construction projects will make a fine-tuned system that is designed to facilitate both on-field tasks and also back-end preparation process to progress those tasks, those field tasks, in order to complete them on time by meeting all determined quality standards. Okay, so this is what the major purpose of adding management concepts into the construction project. But in simple, I say management means managing resources. So what are these resources that you want to manage? The main and primary resources that you're going to manage in the construction are, number one is labor. Here, labor doesn't mean only construction workers. Labor means any physical capability that you're going to do in the construction. Physical capabilities, be it a construction worker, be it a supervisor, be it an engineer, be it an equipment, be it a machine, whatever it is, all comes under the labor. Labor means work to be done. So you have to have this resource in order to construct any facility or any activity. So apart from labor, another major resource, another prime resource is material. So both resources together, labor and material, will do the construction activity. So but here you have both labor and material. And what are these resources should be focused on? There should be some focus. There should be some need. According to the need, there should be some specification. According to the specification, you need to form some standards. So what does that mean? That means any project, any construction work, by utilizing the resources, they should focus on the quality of the work. Quality here, it again depends upon the type of work, level of need and necessity. All those factors comes into picture when you see about the quality. And how would you look at the quality? How can you define the quality, and how you catch this quality, how you understand this quality? There are three questions that you can make, or there are three factors that you can look at when you are thinking about quality. You just take an example of any activity or any work in the construction. You need to bother about what is the work to be done, and where it has to be done, and how it has to be done. These three factors will be defined in terms of quality. So this is what is the quality. So when you come to know that what is the work that you have to be done and where it has to be done, how it has to be done, now you got some idea of what to do for the intended purpose, and you have some idea of you got the whole idea of delivering a product in terms of what, where, and how. Now this whole idea of what, where, and how is nothing but planning. Okay, this is what is the planning. So apart from these three factors, there is one more factor that governing these three factors, and that is when. So now you know, you have a plan, what to do, where to do, and how to do. Now when to do it, at what time. At what time you have to start, at what time you have to close, you have to finish, and how much time you can execute it. What is the time available? What is the duration available? So all this will be coming under the managing resources. That means when the planning and scheduling both constitutes towards the managing resources of labor and materials, and that gives you the quality output which you can deliver to the end user. End user may be any person depending upon the need. Okay. So when means scheduling. That means, so why I have given here the title as a project scheduling. Here, whatever the focus we are doing is construction. Construction itself is a project. Therefore, in place of construction scheduling, I can call it as a project scheduling. Project is nothing but here, as far as civil engineering, we concerned about the construction project. Therefore, it is a project scheduling. So when you look at scheduling, what is scheduling? Or when you look at project, what is project? So when you call a particular thing as a project, a particular entity or a particular activity or a particular construction is a project. A project consists of a stakeholder. The main stakeholder is the owner. He is the one who has the idea of a project and he wants to make that project and he has to execute it. So now he is with the idea and execution person will be the contractor. So always there will be a connection between the owner and contractor in order to execute the project. So that is what the project means. There should be these two stakeholders. That means owner and contractor are the primary stakeholders in order to start a project or in order to execute a project. So why do these people need the scheduling? Why do contractors or owners need the scheduling? Why they need to bother about the scheduling? Why? That means here the main thing, if you look at the owners, the main thing for owners is to get an idea of when the project is going to finish, because they wanted to make it sure that it should be useful for the intended purpose after its finishing, right? So therefore owner is bothered about when it is going to finish, how much time span it will take. So he needs more realistic duration when you look at the project scheduling. That is what the owner is looking at. Owner is looking at the realistic duration. When you get a realistic duration when you do the scheduling. So if we look at the contractor's point of view, or when we look from the contractor's perspective, we need to ensure that contractor's ability to meet the owner's need and requirements, because he is taking work from the owner. Therefore, as a contractor, you need to ensure whatever the owner needs are there, you are able to meet those needs or requirements. So here what happens, here owner will set the target date to the contractor, and contractor needs to do the scheduling as per his abilities and capabilities to meet the target. So this is how this scheduling will help the contractor. Okay. And next is that owner should be ensured about the timely finish by the contractor. And this can only be happened through proper planning. So owner may set some milestones in order to see the contractor's performance. That is how this scheduling again helpful for the owner, because all of a sudden at the end of the project, owner can't take risk to extend his project duration because of the poor performance of a contractor, right? So he should be careful. He should do proper scheduling. He should make realistic milestones so that he can assess the performance of a contractor. Again, in the same case, contractor should make an efficient plan, and if possible, he should be able to hire some subcontractors and coordinate with them to meet the deadlines or milestones. So when we talk about owner, who is the owner? Owner can be, he can be an employer, he can be a customer, he can be a user. All these stakeholders comes under the owner. When you look at the contractor, he can be a builder, he can be a constructor, he can be a subcontractor, he can be a vendor, he can be a supplier. So all those people comes under the contractor. Again, where do you fall in between these two people? As a civil engineering graduate, say a contractor cannot be a civil engineer and owner cannot be a civil engineer, but being a civil engineer, where do you fall? You should be either your job is to either associate or assist one of these stakeholders. Okay. Can you please? Yeah. So you should be either coordinate or you should be either associate between one of these two stakeholders, or sometimes you can be the owner, you can be a contractor. It's upon you, your interest. You wanted to start a project, you can be the owner. You wanted to construct a project, you can be the contractor. If not, you have to be associated with one among these two stakeholders. See, until unless you yourself keep this concept in your mind, you cannot understand the project scheduling or project management in the construction. Okay, you have to assume yourself that you are assisting or associating among these two stakeholders. Okay, you should be always think with respect to these two stakeholders as far as you are staying in the area of project management. Okay, until unless you cannot Sunil Garu, can you please check about the disturbances? Okay. I'm thinking that someone is asking any question in between.
Yeah. I have muted. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. Thank you. So, so this is what about the project. So when you talk about the scheduling, uh, construction scheduling, or when you talk about the scheduling, see, okay, we'll see about project only. So one more important thing is regarding to the project, or next important purpose of the project is the money flow prediction, or fund flow or cash flow prediction. Because you know that most of the construction projects all over the world fail to achieve their targets, not because that they are technically weak, they don't know how to do the job, but because of timely fund availability. Until unless you don't schedule the fund, when you want the fund, you have to able to get that fund on your hand. So because there are many parties involved in a project like vendors, suppliers, subcontractors who expect timely payments, otherwise they may stop their services, which will again going to hamper or affect the project schedule of what you are doing. So money flow or fund inflow is very important for timely completion of works. Otherwise, how can you pay to the services? You cannot pay, right? So, and it is useful. This scheduling is also useful for controlling the project in terms of payments. That means when and where, when you want to give the payment to the contractor. So this schedule will make you, will give you some prior information that at so and so period of time, you need to be ready with so and so amount of money, so that you can pay to that vendor or subcontractor or a contractor whenever he requests for the payments. So you can verify with respect to the schedule and you can plan the fund. And also this scheduling will help you for any changes to be made in the project. That means schedule helps in assessing the impact of changes to be made or incorporated in the project with respect to the whole duration of the project. If you want to do some changes, if you want to incorporate some modifications in your project, you can check when you drop that change in the scheduling, you can check whether it is affecting your overall schedule or not. Okay. So, and also with the advantage of scheduling is that you can also plan for earlier procurement as it is needed to be done well in advance, because procurement of materials, if you need in a huge supply, you cannot go to a market and purchase them because they are not readily available. They also should make some schedule. Even that material also should be manufactured or should be procured. It will take some time. So before starting the work, you can assess the time required for the procurement. You can have some gap between the start of a project and plan of a project. In that gap, you can procure the materials. You can plan the procurement of a materials. That's how this scheduling will gonna help you in terms of procurement. So coming to the construction scheduling. So what is this construction scheduling? So let us look about what is scheduling. See, when you see the construction means there is something to be done. So what to be done, that you should know. So construction of a building or construction of a road, whatever may be the entity, whatever may be the facility. Construction means you know that what to be done. And what are the things to be done in the construction? Those things you will be defining in terms of activities. So each thing or each construction work you can define in terms of activities. So this is what is the construction in a defined way or in a simpler manner. We see that construction is what to be done and what are the activities to be done. Okay. So what is scheduling? When to start and when to finish. Okay. So when you wanted to start work or when you wanted to finish that work, this is what is the scheduling in a simpler manner. So when you connect these activities to when to start and when to finish, that becomes the construction schedule. Okay. So what is this when to start and when to finish? This is nothing but time, right? Time or the duration. That means you need to know at what day you have to start such activity, at what day you can finish that activity, and how many days you can you are going to construct or you are going to progress that particular activity. This is what is the time. So simple scheduling means just you need to know when to start, you need to know when to finish. So why we need to bother about the techniques in the scheduling when you know when to start? You can just give some start time and some finish time over. So why the hell we need to study about all these techniques, all these methods, and why we need to concentrate as a separate course, and why need to focus on these things? Can anyone answer? I'm just asking a question. In a simpler manner, I made you understand about what is construction scheduling. Now you know that when to start, when to finish. You just fix some times to the activities. It's over. Construction scheduling is over. So why we need to bother? What are the other things that?
Sir, for an efficient and good result, sir.
Okay, for efficiency and good result. Because see here, whatever the efficiency you are talking about, whatever the results you are talking about, simply if you assign some times to activities, you may achieve it based on your experience or based on your other projects. You can assign some times. That is what you are going to do in MSP, Microsoft project. You just assign some times and make a schedule. It's over. Construction schedule is over. So here, as he said, efficiency or whatever it is, that means you wanted to make project successful. That means you wanted to create a successful project. So to create a project successful, apart from time, there are other there are other prime factors that are governing the successful of a project. That is the cost or the price or the money involved with the construction activities. That means based on the availability of funds or based on the assigned or allocated funds, you have to check whether you can start and finish or whether you can carry out the work within the stipulated amount of time or not. If you cross the time, it will affect the cost. If you compress the time, it may reduce the cost. So cost is another important governing factor in terms of construction scheduling. That means when you are doing a construction schedule, you have to interrelate or you have to correlate with the available funds, available money or cost of those activities which you are doing. So you may think that you can reduce the time and also you can reduce the cost and you can complete it in a faster manner. So there are certain activities you can complete it in a faster manner without checking its performance, without checking its how it's to be done. Only thing is that you are bothering about when to start and when to finish and how much amount has to be put in that particular activities. If you think only about time and cost and how you gonna make that product or that output accepted by the user, because ultimately whatever you are doing, the construction activities, ultimately a user should accept it, right? He should be able to use it. He should be able to enjoy it. Okay. Otherwise, there is no meaning. That means there is another factor that is quality. So altogether, time, cost, and quality, these three are the prime important factors in the construction scheduling. That means whenever you are creating dates, times, start dates or finish dates, whenever you are fixing some events, so you should be thinking in line with the cost and quality also. It's not only about how quickly you can complete, how lately you can do it. It's not that, okay? These things, the cost and the quality also things matters, because so there might be some activities you can do faster in a faster phase, but what about the cost? What about the quality of it? Okay, these three factors, that's the reason these three factors should be available in the construction scheduling. That should be assumed. So if it is only time, you can simply see and you can simply fix. But if it is about three multiple factors, so how you gonna represent them? Okay, how you can represent, that means how you can visually see these three factors. So that is what is the construction scheduling. Okay, when you want to see these three, you have to make some representation. That is what is graphical representation. You can call it as a graphical representation. That means construction scheduling is a graphical representation which shows various stages of construction activities with their start and finish times or dates, and also their relationship one after another. That means their sequential relationship. Relationship may be either among the activities or among the operations involved in the construction or among the tasks involved in a project, so that these relationships will make you to achieve the completion of the work in an effective manner or in an efficient manner. So when you consider about these three factors, your graphical representation should show all these three factors in terms of construction scheduling. So here, scheduling gives you a quantum of work involved with required or available resources, such as you can say resources means labor or material. At each stage of work, you can know, you can just see in a graphical representation how much resources is required, how many labor or how much material is to be consumed at this stage of work. All these things you can see in the graphical representation. That is what is the construction scheduling. You can also check the actual progress. It helps you to carry out the whole work in a systematic manner, and all these advantages are there with this construction scheduling when it is represented in a graphical representation. So basically we call construction scheduling is nothing but a graphical representation of various activities and their interrelationships. Okay, since you all know, since you know the times, then in this graphical representation you will be knowing that when to start and when to finish. So now you know all the times in advance. What you can do now, you have a flexibility of making certain arrangements. Whatever the required arrangements are there, you can make it well in advance, and you can also optimize the resources. You can also monitor the actual progress with respect to the planned progress with the help of this scheduling, and you can get a chance to assess the causes for any delays, so that you can take some remedial measures. You can take some proper measures that can be adopted to avoid those delays. Finally, the most important thing to start any project is to find out at its complete duration. See, until unless you don't know about the complete duration, you cannot call it as a project. Project means it should have a specified duration. It should have a definite duration, that when to start and when to finish. And this can only be known with the help of scheduling. Unless until you don't do scheduling, how can you know about the entire duration of a project? It's not possible. Of course, scheduling is again further can be classified according to the need of what you wanted to control. That means you wanted to control various other specific resources such as manpower, equipment, cost, etc. So you can call it as labor scheduling. You can call it as machinery scheduling or equipment scheduling. You can call it as financial scheduling. Those schedulings are, you are specifically focusing on specific resources where you wanted to gain control over those resources in order to optimize them. Okay, so this specific focus in order to control those resources will make you complete the project in efficient or effective manner. So coming to the construction activities. So what the schedule consists of? Schedule consists of all the construction activities. So how do you define, how do you decide these activities? Basically, you just see a building. This is a multi-story building. So the entire...
I think Altaf Hussain has a question.
Yeah, you can just ask, because I'm not able to see the raise of hands, so you can just stop me in between. Okay.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a small doubt, sir.
Yeah, please tell me.
Sir, we have prepared one schedule, sir, from this time to this time.
Okay.
And the construction is going on.
Yeah.
So due to some reasons, the construction has stopped. That means work has stopped.
Okay.
So already we have prepared this schedule to the time. From
Yes.
this time to this time, it has to complete, but it has delayed.
Yes.
So in that situation, this construction project is how it is helpful, sir.
See, you are talking about on-field progress, right? Progress monitoring and tracking. See, if there is any unforeseen conditions in your progress or progress schedule or in your project schedule, you have to be ready with the alternatives. So well before, you need to plan the alternatives in case of any such hampers happens in your project. So if you could have been planned the alternatives well before in hand, then you could have completed on time. So that is also a concept, a different concept. That means you need to plan the alternatives to your regular work. You cannot stick to only one base plan and one base alternative. Okay, you understood my point?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I'll explain about those alternatives in my coming slides. No need to worry. I'll go in detail and I'll explain about it. Okay. So because stopping of a work or hampering of a project schedule may have several reasons. So depending upon the reason, you have to go for intended, or you have to go for a suitable or apt alternative to it. Okay. Alternative may be the extension of work, also work time. Alternative may be the increase of funds. Alternative may be anything. Okay. So we'll discuss about it later. Not worry. That's again a big subject. Project monitoring and tracking is again a different, and it's a big subject. So it will take a lot of time. So here I am only sticking with the basics, because most of the graduates now, you people are going to learn Microsoft project. So before learning Microsoft project, you should understand some basic concepts. Unless you don't understand those basic concepts, you will not understand what you are doing in the MSP. It's like example I tell you, most of you people might have learned AutoCAD, okay, but you don't know how to do the house planning. What is the use? You will forget the AutoCAD within short period of time, because you don't practice it. You don't know how to do the house planning. You don't know how to check the house planning, how to check the bylaws of residential plan or a commercial building, and you don't know where to locate the room. You don't know where to locate the facility. So what is the use of learning AutoCAD? Simply learning tools doesn't make you expert in the field. Okay, you need to learn manual concepts, then you need to apply it in the tool. Software tools are just only making you to go effortless work. In order to get an effortless work, you are using the tools. Okay. So coming to the construction activities, here a building is there. Now I call this building as an activity. So construction of a building is an activity. So when to start this construction and when to end this construction? So I say that I'll start it on June 1st and I complete it on December 31st. So now I have two dates. Now I have the construction activity, one activity, that is building. So now I have only fixed the milestones. I have only fixed the targets. But in between these June to December, how certain activities are performing in the building, I don't have any control on it. I only fixed the milestones for this activity. I have given the start. I'm waiting for the finish. And in between, I don't have any control. In such case, you can take only building is an activity. That means this is the major activity. So now I wanted to have a control over the other activities which are performing in the building. So now you can divide, or you can break the building into construction of a building into sub works or sub activities. So how you can take that? The next, when you see multi-story building, the first thing comes into your mind is floors. So you can make into different number of floors. That means floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, floor 4. So each floor you can consider as an activity, so that you will have again control over each and every floor. That means you know that floor 1 when to start, floor 2 when to start, floor 3 when to start, and when to finish, all those things. Now, if you want to further go, then you can consider components of a building. It may be structural components, it may be a non-structural components, maybe like beams, columns, slabs, walls, all other elements which are constituted to the construction. Now here, if you have only minimum floors, if you have only 3 to 4 floors, now you don't want to focus on a floor, you want to focus on a component or element. So directly after building activity, you can go for the components. Each component, again, you can define the floor. That means column at floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. Beam, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. So you are now focusing on the components. So components will be your activities. So after that, further you wanted to go. So you can go for non-structural elements. So walls, joinery, fittings, fixtures. So all those things, at what level you want to gain a control, you can go to those level and you can define them as an activity. That means if you are creating an activity, you should be able to define its duration, its start, and its end time. So activity means it has a particular duration, it has a particular start time, it has a particular end time. That is what is the activity. So based on these, you can define the activities. So we are talking about these activities, nothing but it's a level of control. That means at what level you wanted to control the activities of a construction, that level you have to define the activities. So you cannot simply define minimum activities like 4 or 5 activities, and you cannot control the multi-story building with 4 or 5 activities, or else you cannot create 4,000 or 5,000 activities in order to have a greater control over the building. So depending upon the size of a construction, or depending upon the size of a building you wanted to construct, or you wanted to manage, or you wanted to process, depending upon that you have to define a level of control at what level you want it. See, here we can see fixtures and finishes are there that you are giving for a subcontract. So you can ignore those fixtures and finishes. You can just only go up to walls and joinery. And walls and joinery also you are giving a subcontract. So you can go up to structural elements only. After that, walls and joinery, it's not your, because you are giving it to a subcontract. You can make only start and end. And subcontractor will take care of that particular activity, and again he schedules his work to be done. He makes those activities what are to be done in the building, and he forms his own tasks to do, and he will do the scheduling. So that means at what level of control you want, that level of control you have to define the activities. So it may be structural elements, or it may be a non-structural elements. So all these things, this is only a basic example I'm giving. This is for a building. If it is for a road, if it is a bridge, you can define according to their components, according to their stretch. That means kilometer stretch. If it is a road, if it is 100 kilometers, you can make it for 10 kilometers, you can make it for 5 kilometers, you can make it for 2 kilometers, depending upon what level of control you wanted to gain. That means this is a kind of micro planning, nothing but this scheduling is nothing but micro planning. And this level of control, if you define, that is what becomes your work breakdown structure. Okay, so now you understood how to create a work breakdown structure. There is nothing like a standard definition of work breakdown structure. It depends upon the level of control what you wanted to gain on the project. Depending upon that, you have to make the work breakdown structure. There is nothing like a standard work breakdown structure. You can create your work breakdown structure based upon the control you wanted to gain on the project. Hope you all understood this. So here in the activities, whatever I have shown here, these are the building activities. All these activities are nothing but execution phase. Okay, this is only the execution phase, but there are many other phases in the construction project. When you consider the project activities, that means project is nothing but a construction here. So when you consider project activities, so when the project starts, when the project ends, in between these two, whatever the activities are there, all those activities will constitute towards the project activities. So that is what is phases of a construction project. That means each phase will be an activity again. So at phase 1, that means you have to first break the entire project into phases. So that might be a pre-project phase. And what happens in pre-project phase? See, this phase of a project is nothing but how we can just take example of our own life, how we have the different phases of our life, like childhood phase, young phase, adultery phase, old phase, and death phase, birth phase and death phase. That means between these we have different phases, and different phases you are doing different activities, right? You are not doing the same activities. So different activities you are progressing towards the end of your phase, end of your life. So the same thing applies to the construction project also. So construction project also has different phases, especially in terms of project management terms. We can call it may be a phase, or it may be a stage. You can call it as a step, whatever it is. These are used in a similar manner. So let us now discuss about different project phases here that are generally categorized. So this is nothing but a pre-project phase. In the pre-project phase, that is, you will be having some initiation, you will be having some idea, that you create some estimations, you create some plans, basic plans, idea plans. All these are the activities that you're going to perform in the pre-project phase. So in pre-project phase, there are again you can subdivide this pre-project phase into sub phases, like what we are discussing about idea phase, or concept phase and feasibility phase. That means you are checking the idea with the concept and also its feasibility. So those three are the activities you are going to perform in the pre-project phase. Next, coming to the project phase. So project phase, this can also be called as, we can simply call it as the execution phase or implementation phase. Okay, so you can also say this is as a project realization phase or project materialization. So whatever it is, you are executing a project here in this phase. So this phase also you can again break them into different activities, or those activities are nothing but sub phases. Like you can say basic design phase or detailed design phase, tendering phase, execution phase, and completion phase. So all these again you can subdivide. So all these will come under your work breakdown structure when you look at at project level. Okay, when you look at project level, all these comes under your work breakdown structure. When you look at company level, again it will be project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4. That is what is your work breakdown structure. So work breakdown structure you can define based upon your level of control. Suppose a company manager is there, he is having 10 projects. First, the major work breakdown structure, that means first phase of his work breakdown structure will be the project 1, project 2, project 3. That will be the major, and that durations he is majorly bothered about. He is not bothered about what is the wall construction activity scheduling in your project. He don't want that. He wanted to only look at project durations. Okay, so different stakeholders in a construction project, from the authority to the layman or to the labor or to the mazdoor or to the supervisor, they have different level of control, and depending upon that level of control, they have to create the work breakdown structure. So after project phase, again, the final phase is the post-project phase. So after completion of the work, your project is not ended. It is going to the utilization stage. That means end user is going to use it. Okay, till the project collapses, the project continues. Okay, so coming to this last phase, this is the post-project phase, which is also known as, you can call it as a turnover phase or the startup phase, because during this phase the responsibility of the finished facility will be transferred from engineering team or contracting team or architects to the owners. Again, they are going to use that product or use that facility. Okay, so here also again there are two general phases, that is post-project phase will be having utilization phase and closed down phase. After the design life period of that facility, they have to close down, they have to dismantle it. Okay, so entire project activities means pre-project, project, and post-project. So this is how you have to define the work breakdown structure when you look at the project level. Okay, so construction process. So now we have understood about different level of control, and at each level of control we need to understand about the construction process. So what actually a construction process consists of? That means the process of a construction mainly defines under operations and processes. That means there will be some operations in the construction process. This is during the execution phase I'm speaking. Okay, there are some operations, there will be some processes. Now, what is this operation and what is this process? See, construction operation, it is not a physical activity, right? It cannot be a physical activity. It is a technological segment of a project. That means a construction operation can be linked with several activities in a project. But that means multiple activities can have a single construction operation. But activities are different, but operation is same. Or else we can say like this, a construction operation can be part of more than one activity. So because it happens in a repetitive mode or it happens in a cyclical mode, that is what is the operation. So finally, the operation means focusing on methods and technologies. Okay, so for operation means focusing on methods and technologies. Then what about the processes or process? So a construction process or a process means it is the segment of an operation, of a construction operation, which uses the same resources or similar kind of resources. So in this case, you can say if construction operation is having only one single process, then both process and operation becomes the same. So I give you a best example, that is concreting activity. If you look at concreting activity, when you consider RMC, you can define RMC into two major processes. That is, one process happens at plant, one process happens at site. At plant, you make it, at site, you use it. So that's how the concreting operation is divided into two processes. Again, you can subdivide it into different other processes, transporting, placing, pumping, all those things are again sub-activities, okay, subtasks. So the same concreting operation, if you do on site, then it will be only single process. That means only site. So that means you do mixing, you do pumping, you do transporting, everything in the site only. That means concreting now became only a single process. So this is how you need to understand about operations and processes, because these are the repetitive elements or repetitive works that will be applied to different activities. Different activities means you can say beam, column, slab, or retaining wall. All these are different activities, but having only single operation, that is concreting operation. Okay, all these things requires concreting. So that's how you need to first define about the operation and decide about its time, its duration. You cannot simply give a static duration to these operations and processes. You have to define it in a cyclical mode. That means you need to create some life cycle. You need to create a life cycle in such a way that all the repetitive activities are falling within that life cycle, within that frame of life cycle. Okay. So that's how you can define the operations and processes. Then only you can assign the durations to the activities. So I can go further detail with some example and I can explain you, but it will take a lot of time. So I'm just giving you some idea of what is operations and process, how it is linked to the activities. Okay. So coming to the tasks. Construction tasks are nothing but things to do or physical job to do. So whatever may be the physical task, you can just call it as a you have some job to do. So these physical tasks can be at any level. At manager level, you might be having some physical tasks which will be assigned to the engineer. Again, engineer will be assigning tasks to the supervisor based upon his orders, and again supervisor will communicate with the Mazdoor. Finally, the Mazdoor will communicate to the labor. So all these are the tasks. That means physical job to do. They have to go to the field and they have to assign, they have to manage it, they have to monitor them, whatever the work is going. Ultimately, a physical output will come, and to attain or to gain that physical output, these levels of physical tasks were required from manager to labor. So there should be a proper coordination between among this hierarchy. So this hierarchy will makes you different tasks at different levels. So all these tasks you can define, okay, based upon the level of hierarchy. So I'll just give you an example of a wall activity of a building. So here wall construction you can consider as an activity, and wall construction means you may have different thicknesses. You may have a 6-inch wall, you may have a 9-inch wall, you have a 12-inch wall. So each wall will have a different operation. Like I have given you an example of a 6-inch wall here, 115 inches you can get as a single brick wall, or 4.5-inch wall, including plastering thickness, you can consider it as a 6-inch. So this brickwork of 115 mm is a different operation when you consider brickwork of 230 mm. You cannot have a similar operation. The mode of work, the mode of process will change. The work process will change. Laying process will change. There will be a slight difference. You should be able to know that slight difference. In case of single brick wall, the process is that nothing but bricklaying. So how this bricklaying has been done? It will have similar, it will have some tasks. So you can see here, first one is you have to lay the bricks with mortar, that is one task. And then you have to lay the concrete bed. See, this concrete bed may not be required for 9-inch brick wall, because that has another structural capacity. It can bear with its L to D ratio, that means slenderness ratio. Whereas this is a thin wall, as this is a thin wall, you are going for the laying a concreting bed. So this task can be eliminated in case of 230 mm wall. That is why you need to define process and tasks with respect to the operation. Operation may be similar. Okay. So task, that is second task is the laying the concreting bed, and third task is that you need to slice the brick. Fourth task is aligning and leveling, and The next task is the finishing the mortar beds, and the final task is gentle brushing to clean up. So based on these tasks, you define the duration of this wall construction activity. If you don't consider these tasks, you cannot define at what time you can start and at what time you can complete the wall construction. Again, this wall construction you will be having example laying the bricks, you will be laying in 3 layers, right? So one after one layer, if you are laying, you have to give some time, and again you have to come back to the second layer. So in this time, how much scope of work you can do in the remaining part of the building with similar operation, that you need to know. That means you need to consider similar operations here. That means you need to consider 5 or 6 operations, so that you can have a life cycle, you can have a repeated works, and you will complete the complete wall construction activity of a building A. So this is how you need to define a life cycle, and this is how you need to define the duration of a activity. It is not simply that a wall construction activity will complete in 10 days. And if you just give start date and end date, if you don't know about the process, if you don't know about the operation, then your time duration may go wrong. Okay. So finally the brushing to clean up. Okay. So now you understood about the activities, you understood about operations, process, everything. So now after understanding all these terms, then only you can understand the scheduling technique. Without knowing this basic understanding of activity, task, operation, process, if you directly want to learn about the scheduling techniques, you will be just understanding only just kind of a subject. Like subject, you are studying some question and you are studying some answer. You are just mugging up. You are not actually putting your brain. Okay. Now, what are the scheduling techniques available in order to implement those activity durations and make the project in a complete manner or in an efficient manner? So coming to the scheduling techniques, actually there were many techniques. There were many techniques developed in the construction industry, and the main focus of these techniques is mainly to reduce the workload and also to improve the work productivity. And this can only be achieved when it will be done in a systematic manner. That means this must be done in a systematic manner. So as far as till now, if we see, there are many techniques used in the construction management area, and their importance is very much appreciable. You all should have some awareness about all those techniques utilized in the construction industry from the ages. It is not like simply if you learn Microsoft Project or Primavera, you can do the scheduling. No, you have to understand all the techniques, how it has been evolved, and what is the background techniques that were utilized previously without the intervention of computer technology. All those things are the core concepts or manual concepts that you need to understand before going to the advanced techniques. Because all this, if you understand these techniques, they help in reducing the cost overruns and also time delay problems. And suppose if you become a project manager, these techniques can aid you or might help you to focus on the aim of your project. And they also do provide an opportunity to make a healthy communication or to communicate or to work with compatible relationship among your team members. And also they do help you in finding out the best alternatives, and they do act as a medium in order to inspect the work you are doing on the field. And also you can foresee, you can see early what are the probable negative factors that are governing your scheduling or that are hampering your schedule. So finally, you can know the criticality. You can understand the criticality of your project from these scheduling techniques. So you need to understand all those techniques in order to gain this level of knowledge. Okay. So anyone has any queries? Shall I continue? Okay, hope you don't have any queries. I'll be continuing the lecture. So coming to the scheduling techniques. So what are the techniques available? So initially in the early ages, maybe 1950s or 1920s, there used to be a technique called harmonic graph. So that looks like this. Okay. Here what happens, on the left hand side you can see the time. So those are the days, and on the top you can see from which activity to each activity. And here you can see this is the time duration of that activity, and these are the parallel activities, and this is the parallel activity, and after completion of these two activities this activity started, and after completion of this activity started. So basically this is a manual method. This is called as a harmonic graph. This is the first scheduling tech that has been utilized in the construction industry, and with the help of this they could able to manage only a few activities. They cannot go for the mass activities or huge activities. They have to stick to only few activities, because it creates a complex scheduling structure, where you can't able to easily take the decision from looking at this scheduling technique. That means this is a limited technique because of manual entries. So this is one kind of technique. And after the harmonic graph, then you got charts, nothing but bar charts. And when you assign time to it, it becomes a Gantt chart. So these chart techniques has been widely used, and still it is getting used in the construction industry. Till today, most of the people are using these method only, bar chart methods, manually, in order to understand or in order to do the scheduling for their projects. And this is how a Gantt chart looks like. So you can see here, duration is on the top and activity is on the left. That means it is opposite to the harmonic graph. So here we can see the time duration of the activities, and this is the time duration. And you can also see some milestones. This diamond, this rhombus is nothing but a milestone. So this is a milestone, this is a milestone. So Gantt chart will make you understand the relationship between the time and the progress of the activity. So that is what is the Gantt chart. So you might be studying about this in your academics more detailedly. So I don't want to go much detail into this Gantt chart. So this basically the Gantt chart will show you a graphical representation of time versus activity durations. Okay. So that means when you start the activity, when you close the activity. That is what actually here it can be shown. There is nothing like interrelationship. There is nothing like anything. Okay. There is no relationship in the Gantt charts. You only see the progress of the activities according to the schedule. That is what is the Gantt chart. And coming to the next level, that is networking. Networking, again, this is yeah.
I think
Yeah, please
time is
tell me.
over 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I was told that I will be given extra time in order to make you understand the concepts. So shall I continue?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So I was told that it may extend up to the 1.5 hours. So don't worry about that. Okay. So coming to the networking, so CPM and PERT and PDM and decision CPM, GRT. So I'll just give you a brief about these network. I don't want to go in detail. So coming to CPM and PERT, you all know this is a critical path method and program evaluation review technique. Basically, in these both techniques, you will be having an arrow which represents the activity, and you will be having nodes which represents the events. So basically, this is an activity 1, 2, and there will be a time duration to the activity, and this is how you form the network in the case of networking. So here, when you consider about CPM, it mainly focuses on the deterministic durations. When you focus about PERT, it is a probabilistic. That means in case of PERT, you are not sure about your duration. You don't know, you don't have any experience, you don't know about the duration. Therefore, you take a probable value. Whereas in case of CPM, yes, you were aware of that activity, you know exactly, or you know the accurate duration. That means the duration is uncertain. That means you have an accurate duration. Here in the probabilistic, sorry, I think I have given in a opposite manner here. So in PERT, duration is not accurate. So you just, I'm sorry, you just need to reshuffle this. So here in the probabilistic method, duration is uncertain. In deterministic method, duration is accurate. Okay. So all this, whatever may be the duration, that connects to the how early you can start the activity and how lately you can close the activity or you can finish the activity. And here, basically, this is the TE and TL, that is earliest time and latest time. And when you see the CPM, it is event oriented. That means it focuses on the events. That means these are the TE, whatever the earliest time and whatever the latest time, those are the event times. And when you consider about the PERT, those are the times that are related to activity. You have 4 activity times: how early you can start, how lately you can start, how early you can finish, and how lately you can finish. And the difference between these times in case of CPM is called slack, in case of PERT is called float. So this slack and float makes you understand about the flexibility of activities in the entire network. That means which activities you wanted to stop, which activities you wanted to start. So you'll have some flexibility of time. Wherever you don't have a flexibility of time, that you consider as a critical path or critical activities. That means you cannot touch its duration. You cannot change the duration or you cannot change their times. Wherever you have slack and wherever you have float, you can just play with the times. You can adjust the times so that you can reach. It will not disturb the duration, entire project duration. In case of slack, it is focusing on only events. That means it looks into the preceding activity and succeeding activity only. In case of float, it connects to the total duration of the activities or total duration of the project. So in this process, there might be some parallel activities where you need to consider the dummies. That is what is the dummy. So in such case, you have to have these dummies. But what if you have large number of multiple activities? You cannot create more dummies, and that becomes some complex network. So then you go for this PDM method. So where these interdependencies and activities can be defined. And here you can say, you can take this 1 and 2 are the interdependencies, and arrow mark will be considered as an activity. So here you can completely eliminate the dummies. Why? Because here you will be defining them with respect to finish start, and there are 4 methods you can define with respect to the interdependencies. That means you can only start the activity 2 after finishing the activity 1. So this is what the interdependency between these 2 activities. Example, you can just take the plastering activity. You can only start the plastering activity after defining the brick, after completing the brickwork activity. So if you make such kind of relationship between 2 activities, you can avoid the dummies. No need of any dummy, because you are defining the activities with respect to their relationships. Though there won't be any requirement of dummies. Like this, you have another, that is start to start. That means if you take a reinforcement activity, you can start along with the form work. And another one is finish to finish. Example, say the piping work or plumbing work. You can only consider plumbing work is finished after the finishing of tap fittings. You cannot consider this piping work as a finish after the installation of pipes inside the walls or outside the walls. Until unless you fit the taps, you cannot conclude this piping work. Okay, and start to finish. Next one is start to finish. So you cannot consider electrical fixtures. Example, if you take, you cannot finish the electrical fixtures until unless you start the electricity supply. You have fixed electrical fixtures in the home, but there is no electric supply. So electricity supply should be done. After the starting of electricity supply only, you can consider the electrical fixtures as the finish. That means there is a relationship between these 2 activities. Like this, if you can create interdependencies to these activities, you can avoid the dummies. This is what is the PDM method. And next, coming to the decision critical path method. So now you avoided the dummies, you have created the network. Now you have to decide what is the critical path, which path I have to use. So you have to decide, you have to take some decision based on your network. So you cannot simply take a decision on a single network. Okay, so that means decision CPM will give you wider analysis of alternatives. If you have only single network, and if the network doesn't work, then your project will go into the failure. Just now someone asked me about what if something happens in between, how to hamper my schedule. That means you need to have alternative schedules. That means, see here, you can see similar way, this is the node and this is the decision node. This is an activity node, this is a decision node. Now here For this activity, you have 3 different alternatives, and you can complete the activity. You can complete the entire project within the stipulated duration with the help of these 3 alternatives. So if some of the alternative doesn't work, you can go for the other alternative. You can progress, you can reduce the time, or you can reduce the cost with such alternatives. That means you can take the decision. So decision CPM is nothing but it is focusing on the wider analysis of other alternatives. And when coming to the GET, this is a graphical evaluation review technique. This is nothing but here, see, in case of normal network, once you go forward, you cannot come back again. You cannot loop. You cannot have a branch to the previous activities. You have to go forward. But in real-time situation, it's not like that. After progressing your work, sometimes you may have to go to the previous activities. Again, you work on it in order to progress ahead. Example, you can say it as a quality control. So if you take this, in case of GET, this is called a deterministic node, and this is called a probabilistic node. So when you determine some activities, probably you can reach here. So if this is a probabilistic, you may not be satisfied with this activity. Again, you can go back to this activity. You have a loop. Again, you can determine any other alternative and you can go ahead. So this is what is the networking technique in case of GET. So I'll just give you a small example. So you can see there are multiple activities, and this is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and complete. Phase 1 is defining the project. This is developing the project, implementation, and completion. So what happens after defining, while developing, again you can go for another definition. That means another alternative. That means you can change the definition of your project. During the stage of development, you may feel that if you can define the scope in a different manner, you can develop in a better manner. It might happen in case of implementation. Again, you may go for defining the define phase. In case of completion also, again, you can go for define phase or develop phase. That means, so while pre-planning the project or pre-phase, initial phase, you can go to the different activities, go back to the different activities, again, you work on it. That means there is a allowance of looping or branching in case of GET networking. So this is also important in order to ensure the quality control over the latter phases of the project. So apart, these are the old techniques, or these are the conversion techniques that you need to understand, and all the techniques which we have learned, which we have gone through till now, those have been coded into the computer system and they have become a soft tools. Those are nothing but a computer softwares. That is what is Microsoft Project and the Primavera P6. These two are the major commercial softwares which have been used all over the world. And let us know about something about these two tools. I just don't want to explain in detail about these things. See, coming to the MS project, so whatever I have explained in the old techniques, all those things can be done in the MS project. But those can be done in a quicker and easier, and it is very easy to define. You just simply define the task in the software tool. You can just add the times, no need to create any networks. You can allot the resources, simply you can assign the resource, and it is very easy to manage and it is very easy to share, and you can have some customized outputs. So all these things can be done by using MSP. And coming to the advantages of Primavera over MSP. So this is a Primavera software. It will allow you to have a multi-user environment. That means multiple people can work on a single project, where in MSP you cannot do it. You can do some risk analysis in Primavera. You can have a multiple relationships for activities, where in MSP you cannot have. And here, work breakdown structure is an exclusive thing for Primavera, whereas in MSP you can have only with respect to the activities you define. And in case of MSP, you can also define the milestones. This is an additional advantage. So just wanted to show some of the files. So see here, you can see this is a kind of harmonic graph. You can say these are the activities. These are the work breakdown, balance work distribution. First, I will show you the progress. So this is what still industry people are doing. They are using Excel and they are creating progress status because they don't need MSP or they don't need Primavera. They just wanted to update only. They don't want to manage. So for updation, why do we need to go for such costly software? You can just use Microsoft Excel and you can just update by creating your own customized Excel sheets. Like these are the activities on top, and these are the item of work to be completed on left, and these are the dates, actual start, actual finish, actual start, actual finish. All these things you have to enter manually. In case of MSP, you are just giving the activities and it is defining the interrelationship. There is no interrelationship if you do in the Excel, but you can do the progress update by using Excel. No need of any MSP or P6. Similarly, you can also see, you can also check this one, day-to-day progress. So what is your daily target? What is your plan? What is your achievement? So you simply by using Excel also you can create the day-to-day progress. It is that only you should understand the manual concepts. No need to use the advanced tools if you want to show only a minimum amount of work to be done. That means depending upon the complexity of project, then only you choose the tool. So simply Excel also can be useful for creating the project scheduling or project management. And I'll show you one more. So this is one kind of representation. So these are the pile progress monitoring sheet. So simply this pile cap, peer cap is drawn in a graphical mode, and they were colored: piles completed, pile cap completed, peer completed. So they are given in a different color codes. So this is stretch 2, stretch 3, stretch 4. So project planning or project scheduling doesn't mean you have to use only some software tools even without knowing the complexity of the project. If it is a simpler thing, you can show it in using Excel. You can show it in sheets, because ultimately why you are doing this scheduling means in order to take a decision by looking at it. If the stakeholders in your company won't able to understand the tool which you are making, then there is no use of making or using those tools, right? And you can see, you can also make a balance work distribution. Whatever the balance work is there, you can distribute them, we can, depending upon the scope of the work. So this is how we do in the industry. And I'll show you some Primavera reports. So before going to the Primavera report, first you need to do the phasing plan. This is the phasing plan. That means this is the layout: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and all the sub phases. After creating this phasing plan, then you go for overall progress. So this is the overall progress. You can see here: start, plan, finish, actual start, actual finish. And this is the Primavera output report. So you can just create depending upon the phase, and you can have a multiple outputs. You can show critical path activities, that means which cannot be disturbed. So these are the critical path activities, like you can show in a separate output, and a separate output can be shown for overall progress. So like this, you can create multiple outputs by using Primavera, where you cannot create using Excel. When you need multiple outputs, when you need multiple representation of your project scheduling, then you have to go for software tools, because the entry here in case of Excel, what happens, each and every Excel I have to create, I have to modify, and that means every Excel sheet I have to go and enter the data. Whereas in case of P6 and MSP, no need to do that. You can have a multiple outputs. Okay. So that is what is the usage of these advanced tools. So these are the computer softwares, and this is the Primavera. And there is a resource management topic. I'm just skipping this since we don't have much time. That means how do you allocate the manpower or time durations? Simply, I'll tell you, you cannot simply start with the amount of, if you need 100 manpower for your project, you cannot start hiring 100 people in a day one. You have to start hiring depending upon the scope of work. So this is how we have to face. That means initially you may require only 2 people, and whatever the planned maximum, 40% of the planned maximum may require at this stage, and this is the planned maximum. Sometimes you may reach beyond the planned maximum, that you have to hire more labor. So as the project phases, as the project progresses, the requirement of your resources will also change. So this is how you need to understand about the allocation of resources. Then only you can define the time durations, because time duration depends upon the resource allocation only. So if you are assigning 5 labor, the time duration will change. If you are assigning 10 labor, again time duration will change, because the capacity of doing work will change depending upon the available resources. Okay, so this is what is about the manpower management. So what is manpower? It's nothing but it depends upon the you can manage the manpower by using schedule overtime, by hiring more manpower with respect to shift work, and all these things will have influence on availability of good supervision. And if you have workforce availability, and there might be some contract conditions, and if you have any overtime or shift differential, those things will affect. And congestion is also an important factor that will affect the manpower management. And other thing is length of acceleration, so how much length you can keep certain amount of labor in your project. So all these things, all these factors will influence the manpower management, that you have to keep these things in mind while you are entering the duration of your manpower, or while you are entering the resources in the project scheduling. So, and also availability of suitable workforce for extra shifts. Okay. So what is the future scheduling? So future is, we all know that is BIM. We are already learning about a little bit about this BIM, that is building information modeling. So future scheduling, we don't even use P6 and we don't even use MSP. We use only building information modeling, where here what happens in case of building information modeling, you are integrating the tools and making a single tool. Instead of P6 and instead of MSP, you are making a single tool where you can both do modeling and scheduling. So that is what is the future of scheduling. That means both MSP, P6 are integrated with the Revit and CAD. So as far as you are doing modeling, you are assuming the schedules, and you are assigning the schedules to that particular elements what you are modeling in the software. This is what is the future. And still beyond this is not even future. Actually, this has been implementing in some countries today. And when you talk about complete ahead of the generation, that means if you talk about the next decade, it's gonna be with integration. It's gonna be also implementing some artificial intelligence. So here I will show you integration of some of my work I did in case of BIM, integration of MSP with geographical information systems. So this is how, that means entire project scheduling has been done in the GIS. With the help of MSP, of course, I did some scheduling, and I have just taken that data and attached it to the GIS, so that as far as you are modifying the MSP, you can see the virtual progress. So this is the timeline slider. As far as if you move this timeline slider, you can see the scheduling, or you can see the virtual progress. This is what is the future scheduling. No networks, no Gantt charts, no work breakdown structure, nothing. Completely virtual progress, virtual scheduling. This is gonna be happen in future. So you should be ready with all the knowledge of basics in order to create this kind of future scheduling. Okay, and also if the BIM gonna integrate with artificial intelligence, so there is a possibility that means number of possible schedules will increase. If you do only yourself, there will be only one schedule. But if you implement artificial intelligence, you will have a possible schedules from the board itself. That means you get n number of schedules. You may get 10 types of schedules, 20 types of schedules after creating this artificial intelligence, because artificial neural networks is a kind of technique in the artificial intelligence. It can sequence the project activities based upon the past project experience which we have coded in the artificial intelligence. And schedulers can take the decision. You don't need to do the schedule, just look at the schedule and take the decision which schedule will be suitable for your project. And you can also update the actuals in simple language. No need to give start time, end time. As far as you complete the work, you just simply give the time of completion of the work, and it will take that as a start time and end time. That means AI will take care of it. So a layman, or even though if you are not a civil engineer, you can update the actuals in a simple language. And of course, planning and forecasting from existing and other data will also influence the future scheduling when implemented with BIM and artificial intelligence. and it can also determine the critical path by its own. See, all these things can happen, but without the intervention of a civil engineer, it cannot be done. So as a civil engineer or as a construction manager, you are the one who gonna create this kind of environment in future. Okay, so you have to code, you have to understand. For this purpose, it is not simply learning some tool and becoming a professional labor in the industry. You have to be creative, you have to learn the concepts, and that is what you can do with the scheduling. So scheduling future with respect to advanced technologies, this is what happens in future. So you should be ready with the equipment, you should be ready with the all available knowledge. And this is about construction scheduling. And I hope you have all enjoyed the lecture, and thanks for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. And I have given only 1.5 hour time, so I've stick to only a few topics, and I hope I have given you a brief understanding about the scheduling. Now you can actually enjoy of doing this entire program, your MS project, whatever it is there. So each and every phase, you can just remember whatever we discussed now, so that you can understand what you are doing in MSP. Okay, and thank you very much, guys, for listening. So Sunil Garu, you can take over.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Karthik. I think it is a wonderful session. What you told about construction scheduling, past methods, and what is the future way forward for the people to look at BIM and AI for the integration of project scheduling. Thank you so much. I think you have put a lot of patience and given your best in this kind of thing. Maybe I think this will be the turning point for the people to transform into AI as well as BIM for
Yes.
building scheduling. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. If any queries are there, you can post it in chat box. We are happy to answer. I think Karthik
Yeah.
sir will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have some problem, or if you want to do some other work, you can even mail me, or you can even contact me later on. Okay, no need to worry about those things. So you
Yeah.
can
You
ask.
can. Yeah. You can post your mail ID in chat box.
Sure. You can. I will share that, and you can just take that. So if you have any queries, you can just see. I will share my presentation later on with the coordinators, so they will share to you. Okay. So if you have any queries with regard to the scheduling or with regard to project management techniques, you can just ask me, so we can discuss for about 5 to 10 minutes at least.
It is up to you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is G. Ganesh.
Yeah. Ganesh, please tell me.
Sir, small doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in network analysis diagram, sir. Hello.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sir, in network analysis diagram, we have to take the activity and duration. We have to draw the network diagram, sir.
Yes.
We have to find the critical path in nearest critical path, sir. High critical path, sir.
See, basically you need to understand critical path means it is not longest or shortest. Okay, there is a definition that longest path is a critical path because longest path makes you to consider all other activities. If you take a shortest path, you are missing certain activities which can take longer time. So critical path means you have it's not the longest or shortest path. You can consider critical activities. Critical activities means you cannot change its events. Events means start time and end time. There is no possibility.
Yes.
There is no flexibility. That means there is a definition for critical path: slack 0 or float 0. If you have entire activity slack 0 or float 0, that means it's a critical path. Why? Because you don't have a flexibility. You cannot change the durations. You cannot change the start and end times. But all other activities you can change, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is what you need to understand about the critical path. You just don't go with the literal definition of critical path. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Good. Anyone else? And that's a wonderful question because most of you people, while studying or while studying the course, you just go with the definitions. You don't understand the concept behind the definition. So if you try to understand the concept behind the definition, then it will be good. You can create your own definition. Yeah.
Sir Karthik sir, there is a question from Rahim Ahmad in the chat.
Yeah.
What's the expect use or advantage of looping as you mentioned in the
Yeah.
GET technique?
Yeah. So I have also given an example. In the pre-project phase, there will be certain activities that you have to see. In the initiation phase, you have some idea, but when you are thinking about the implementation phase, it is you came to know that it won't work. That implementation phase won't work with that whatever the idea you defined in the beginning. Then you have to make a loop so that you will go to that definition area, and again you change the definition, again you go to the implementation. That means by changing the by changing to alternate definition, you can implement the project. You cannot do all the activities again from the starting. You can simply change. There is an alternate definition. There is an alternate scope. So during the time of implementation, you have to go back. You have to make a loop. So that is what is the use of GET technique. See, CPM and PERT are the basic construction project techniques, and whatever the PDM or GET or critical CPM or decision CPM, these are the additional techniques supported to the CPM and PET. Okay. And with respect to those techniques or those methods only, we are deciding the final schedule, because final schedule cannot be only simply some durations, cannot be simply some numbers, right? The numbers should have some purpose. So you cannot simply give some numbers and ask people to just follow those numbers. It won't happen in real time. Numbers will gonna change. Whatever the network you created will gonna change. So at that time, if you don't have a proper plan in order to change your, in order to have if you have a loop so that you can go back and you can change alternatives, you can change alternate technology, and you can change to alternative methods, or you can change to alternative initiations, so that you can go forward. No need to stop or no need to affect the project. Like someone asked me in between that if something happens in between my project, what should I do? So I have created a schedule. Project has been completed up to 50%. Another 50% project is there, but due to some circumstances, I have to halt my project. Then you can change your scope of the project, right? If you have a loop to the scope of your project, whatever the construction you are doing, whatever may be the ultimate use, why did you stop that project? Because the ultimate use gonna fail. You came to know that whatever the facility you are building is no more required. Just like film theaters, if you take, there are many constructions, cinema theaters has been undertaken before Corona, but during the phase of Corona, they came to know that there won't be any future for the theaters. Then in that case, if they don't have any alternative strategy, alternative scope and definition for the construction, what they are doing, then they will go into a loss. So if they have, if not a film, if not a theater, if they think about some other entity or some other facility, like it can be used for hospital, because in case of COVID times, most of the buildings have been converted into hospitals, right? So if you have that kind of scope definition from the beginning, and if you can loop it, so you can have a successful project. Hope I have given a good example for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.